The Bitcoin Group, the American original. For over the last 10 seconds, the sharpest Satoshis, the best Bitcoins, the hardest cryptocurrency talk. We'd like to welcome our panelists. Ben Ark from BTC IoT.
Hello.
Dan Eve, the Crypto Raptor.
Good evening, all.
Juan Galt from Phone Hodl.
Ahoy.
And I'm Thomas Hunt from the World Crypto Network. Moving on to issue one, Bitcoin price. Bitcoin has roared into the second quarter of the year, jumping above $7,000 for Bitcoin and rising almost 15% in the last 24 hours. The Bitcoin price, which last month fell to under $4,000 in the aftermath of the corona-induced broad market crash, has rallied hard against its lows, with many seeing it going far higher over the course of the year. But the real question is, has the price of Bitcoin decoupled from the stock market? Ben from Wales.
It will inevitably happen. People looked for stability as they would in very unstable times. But now with all the money printing which is happening, Bitcoin's looking more and more stable because we can predictably say when the rate of issuance is gonna halve, which we've got coming up in 39 days, I think, 38 days, something like that. So I think the timing is kind of perfect with a decoupling, and then give us a nice month of Bitcoin price action being different to the general market's price action, and then we go into the halvening. So I think what we saw was the people who just kind of trade Bitcoin quickly clearing Bitcoin from their portfolios, so you could go into something more stable, like just financially more stable, and then that you hit them with the bedrock of Bitcoiners, and the price was still pretty high. So supply and demand. A lot of people flooded the market with a lot of Bitcoin, and then the price went down. So, but now more and more people will just be picking up Bitcoin just to kind of hedge some of the economic problems which are just around the corner. More than likely, we're going to have a depression. Times are going to get pretty hard, and people are going to suffer. So, I think they're keen on putting their money into something which is designed specifically to be deflationary, which everybody will witness from their laptops, from their quarantine homes in just over a month's time. So yeah, we're decoupling.
Dan Eve, the Crypto Raptor.
Yeah, I think with there's a real kind of tornado of events coming up with halvening and the fact that we are going to. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, sorry. What's that, Ben?
Go ahead, Dan.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, with the halvening coming up, I think that's going to definitely help with that decoupling. I think that it at the moment, I think if we got more bad news, then I think that Bitcoin could, like heavily bad news. I think that Bitcoin might plop with the rest of the markets a bit. I think we're still, that still might happen. Just from general fear and panic of people fearing for their lives, not just fearing for basic, assets. It's not just say Tesla going down and should I put my money into something else? It's life threatening. So people are a bit more wary of that. So it would be cool to see, Bitcoin decoupling earlier, but I just think that everything's a bit frothy at the moment. But we'll see. The halvening was coming out. We've got the just over 100 exahash at the moment again. So it's kind of staying roughly consistently in that area. And there's been, the biggest the biggest down click in difficulty. So yeah, things seem pretty stable actually. And we haven't seen any of these additional repercussions of the potential lockdowns of China. If Chinese miners are meant to control the market. We haven't seen, and they've been under a huge lockdown effort. We haven't seen that affect Bitcoin mining. So I would have thought to have seen some ripples there. But yeah, it seems all good in the hood.
Juan Galt.
All right. Yeah. So, the recent drop was arguably because the stock market crashed. There's a lot of liquidation of long positions on the market, and in the stock market, you don't just lose what you have in the account, you lose your home and anything else you have. Like if you're long and you get liquidated and you don't have like, you know, if you can't cover your position in the moment, you got to go and find the money somewhere. Like you legally have certain obligations. So people sell their gold, sell their Bitcoin, and that's arguably why there was a sell-off in other markets as the stock markets crashed. And the stock markets crashed because of the fear of Corona, but more probably because of the lockdown and the sort of government and societal responses to this virus, and you know, and lockdown of global economic engagement, right? So that was really interesting. I think you know, in terms of the price, you know, Bitcoin is a hedge for inflation, is a hedge against fiat currencies and the sort of trivial, arbitrary inflation of the money supply. And but it's not necessarily a hedge against supply shocks like what we're seeing from China and as a result of the coronavirus, and it's not a hedge against pandemics. So it's kind of an uncharted territory that we're in right now. And you know, to some degree, like there is fiat being printed at scale, trillions of dollars, and many other currencies are printing money. So Bitcoin is still in a very good fundamental position, but there's also sort of new demands. The market has shifted. People's behavior, you know, billions of people's behavior has been impacted by this. And there's reasons to think that, you know, there is no normal to go back to. We're in a new world. The world has changed in a deep way. And so, yeah, I think we're in uncharted territory, but I think, you know, with the halvening coming and with all the fiat being printed, and on top of that, like the bottom we just experienced, you know, the market dropped to the point that it actually emptied order books inside of BitMEX's futures, right? And that means that just the buyers ran out and the sellers just hit, you know, went as far as they could, and then the bounce was deep. You know, that wick, the wick for the last month is very deep. So, you know, there's technical reasons to think that we might have bottomed, right? At the end of the day, who knows what the price is going to do, but I think the bullish argument for Bitcoin is stronger than it's been probably in the last year and a half. That said, because we're in uncharted territory, I think it's still wise to play it safe. You know, make sure you have some food, make sure you have whatever you need for a few months, because you can't eat a Bitcoin, but it will be a hedge against. It should be a hedge against fiat and against other kind of stores of value. And I think gold and Bitcoin and, you know, hopefully silver will continue to go up and become the new safe havens, financial safe havens.
That's very true. You can't eat a Bitcoin. Moving on to the exit question, the price of Bitcoin this time next week will be higher or lower? Ben.
Probably higher, but it could again go lower. It's going to be choppy on the run up to the halvening, but then I think it's going to go much higher. Obviously, that's why.
Dan Eve.
Halvening is about 6 weeks away, like 41 days. So I reckon it's up and away.
Juan Galt.
Yeah, I'm actually, I think it could go either way. I think there's really good reason to think it could go up, but it could also have, you know, we could also go down. I'm not really sure. I'm biased towards long, but the happening in the past hasn't been an instant bull market kind of like takeoff. It's usually takes a little bit to
Let's
kick in,
consult
so.
the magic 8-ball. Here we go.
Yes.
Will the price be higher this time next week? It is decidedly so. It is decidedly so. The ball hath spoken. Moving on to issue 2. Factom, one of the first ICO companies, is getting liquidated. That's right. They were one of the very first to offer their very own tokens and your chance to invest in the Factom protocol. They were going to put deeds and other documents onto the blockchain. They even raised multiple rounds of traditional VC funding, but the road has come to an end for Factom. Dan Eve, can I get you a deed on a blockchain? How much would you like a token to buy that? Are you going to buy any tokens in advance? Can I sell you a token, please?
Well, it's funny because FCT is the symbol, and it's actually got there's a bit of a deeper meaning behind that, or connection to me, which is the fact that the system that I developed for the company Old Mutual that I used to work for is called FCT, which is the financial control tool, and I always saw FCT on the charts, and I'd be like, I should buy that because it's there's that link there. So as a good strategic trader does, pinning a tail on the donkey sort of stuff, and I never did. And but I think they had in principle some good stuff, but I think there's better stuff out there for time stamping, better work out there. Mainstays one of them. There's open timestamps. There's other solutions, and I think that it sounds all good, and they got VC money, but they somehow they weren't able to do much with these hordes of cash. I don't know what these people do with hordes of cash. If I had a horde of cash right now, I would have like 50 different perfect pieces of software, and they'd all work and stuff, and I'd do that for a small amount. But people just burn millions. I don't know how it works, but congratulations, you must have burnt loads of money.
And they said that this was going to be an even better fire because it was coming out of Austin instead of San Francisco. It was supposed to burn hotter and longer. Juan Galt, can I get you some marshmallows? Go ahead.
Please do give me some marshmallows. Yeah, I mean, it's very, very interesting news. The maximalists have been predicting the death of tokens and the end of shitcoins and the end of the ICO bubble, or at least hoping it comes for like a while now, a couple of years now. And this is one of the biggest ICOs, like one of the first ICOs. It's very old. It's been around for a long time. And what they're trying to solve has been solved by other organizations without, and well enough without a middleman token. And I think that's one of the biggest problems here, is that they have a middleman token, and it's a problem that many other projects have, right? It seems that they don't fundamentally understand what a currency is supposed to do. What a currency does is it facilitates exchange for goods and services between people who have, different things to trade, right? Well, not only do you have to adopt, a new currency like Bitcoin, which has, at least the worldwide recognition of a brand and stuff, but then you have to go and buy another middleman currency in order to leverage the service. No, the people are creating friction with these tokens, and it's not like there's hot demand for this technology. I think they're probably too early, and I get that they're innovating with their tokens. Back in the day, maybe, it was more. You could speculate that maybe these tokens would be worth something, but yeah, open timestamps, and there's another company called Ubiquity which has been doing this kind of work in a blockchain agnostic way without a middleman token, and they're doing just fine. So RIP Factom. I've met some of the guys. They're great. They're good people. They're trying to do good stuff, but I think we should be learning a lesson here. As middleman tokens are a friction point.
A lot of their examples were nonsense as well. They talk about how if you could prove in the blockchain that you had the deed to some land, maybe you could convict some dictator down the future to let you have that land. It doesn't make any sense. No dictator has to listen to you just because it's on the blockchain. It wasn't a matter of the providence of the records. It was that the system had changed. Ben from Wales, blockchain full of deeds. Can I get you a token?
I think I think there is some actually. There's some logic in it, the wide idea of, and the Nick Szabo social scalability thing, that you could leverage some of this technology to be able to take some human friction out of something like land ownership, for example. And I think we probably will use some of this stuff at some point for that one day. But the ICO stuff, we all knew it was .com. It was yes, the technology is capable of servicing these different needs, but no one really knows how. It's something we should evolve over time, but it's too tempting to throw money at some clever people. The Factom guys were, bright people, and then hope that they're the ones who are going to work out this problem, which is going to be solved over time. But I think there's value in the proposition that some of these things could. I know you always have this Oracle problem, but some of these technologies could be useful for, just for getting rid of the amount of bureaucracy which is involved in a lot of those sorts of services. But it is so like the round system of, applying for seed rounds of funding is a lot of the time it's Brewster's Millions. You have to just burn through your round, and you're encouraged to burn through that round because then you have to release more of your control, more of your equity to shareholders, so to financial capitalists, so they can take more of your company. And in a company like this, you know, a lot of the investment they will have, the investors know that there's nothing's going to come of the company. You know, they're smart people too. That ICOs and tokens are generally a complete waste of time, but they know that they can sell on that product further down the line on another round to another investor. So the timing of this, it probably coincides with the fact that I can't imagine there's many venture capitalists out there willing to kind of take that bet that they can throw money at a company and then sell the equity which they get a little bit later on for a little bit more money. So I think we're going to have the few ICOs. I mean, the way an ICO is just a terrible way to finance something, but just like if you gave random people on the street some money, like every now and then one of them is going to do something useful with that money. So but yeah, the majority of all ICOs are complete crap, obviously, and it's just a terrible way to finance, you know, building ideas and innovating. So yeah, but we will see from the ones who weren't complete scams and just took people's money, the ones who actually tried to play the game and get involved in venture capitalism and all that sort of stuff. We're going to see more and more of those, you know, just like, you know, legacy industries are suffering, and lots of companies are going bust because they can't get investment or whatever, and they haven't got enough runway. We'll see the same thing with those token companies. So yeah, it's yeah. I mean, hopefully maybe it'll just encourage people not to just throw money at this technology and hope that something will magically grow out of it, and rather just actually, like Dan said, you know, actually work on solutions which you don't actually need that much money to do, as we see with the free and open source stuff, which happens in and around Bitcoin.
Well, there's no way of that happening. But great Brewster's Millions reference there, Ben. I love that movie. Great book too, 18th century classic. But yes, they had to spend all the money. They had to make a big fire. We make fun of them for spending it all, but Ben's right. They did have to spend it all. Also, the way that marketing works, they had to make a big start right there at the beginning, or they were doomed. So they had to do all the things they did. They had no choice. They didn't have to print their own money. They didn't have to make a token. They did that on their own. Let's move on to the exit question. Who's next? What ICO or major project that seems unbeatable will go out of business next? Dan Eve, your pick.
Oh man, I should probably bring up CoinMarketCap, because I've actually been avoiding looking at prices and stuff recently, even though it's, you know, joyous. Bitcoin's had a joyous pump. Okay, well, I think that I'm really interested to see what Chainlink actually do. The reason why is because, like, I think that I read earlier on they actually got some sort of commendation from Swift, and Swift is like the biggest, you know, Swift bank messaging. Yeah, that's the shiznit that we use currently in the existing system. So I thought there would be some massive movements there. It does seem like it's been all hype now. So that's the first kind of token in the top, well, 15 or whatever. I mean, I don't know what most of the others do. So in terms of token wise, so I'll pick Chainlink because the only one I know.
Chainlink sounds very heavy. Sounds like a very strong blockchain. Juan Galt, who's going out of business next?
You know, I'm not sure who it will be, but I think it'll continue to happen. I mean, the fact that Factom went down, you know, it's kind of amazing, because yeah, they were here for a long time and they were big. They were really big. So I think we can expect more of them to come. I was actually just looking for a chart: Bitcoin volatility versus other assets. This is on woobull.com, Willy Woo's charts. And anyway, there's one chart that he has, maybe it's not this one, that compares altcoins over time to Bitcoin. And most of them just trend down to zero, you know, almost all of them. And I expect that will continue. And, you know, given that we're in a post-corona era, we might as well just start talking about it that way. I think people might start looking at these things again with a new kind of, from a new perspective, and be like, why? You know, I don't need some sci-fi futuristic thing. I need to make sure there's food. We clearly need to up our local domestic production of essential goods, because can't be depending on China for medicine and masks. You know, that's nuts. And so I think people are gonna hopefully this kind of shock should refocus because people's priorities towards local domestic redundancy of essential goods and services, and globalism has taken a massive hit here, from what I can tell. So other non-essential altcoin projects are probably going to take a hit too.
Come on,
I have
Juan.
no prediction.
It's true. All you need is Dogecoin.
That's right.
Dogecoin is all you need. Ben from Wales. Who's going out next?
Yeah, I agree with Juan. I agree with him on the idea of going more local, of a more of a anarchist kind of society, which will come post-corona, just because it makes sense to be able to mitigate, as we were all becoming more local anyway because of this crisis. In our little ways, we're starting to have a better sense of community with each other, and democracy from the bottom up is what we want, because we don't really like those guys being in power. And actually, if you have people making decisions from the bottom up, then they're less likely to spend money on things like the military, and they're more likely to pour money into things like healthcare. So mitigating disasters like this pandemic. So as we saw with the Spanish Revolution, so there's been historical examples where that happened. What were you saying? Oh yeah, I actually think a lot of Bitcoin companies are going to go down and going to go bust. A lot of companies in general are going to go bust. But I know of a bunch of companies who I've spoken to, and they were looking, big companies, we all know and love, and they were looking for funding rounds, and I can't imagine they're going to get them. So hopefully Bitcoin will go up in price, and those people will be they'll have a little stash of Bitcoin and that can carry them through. I just like within regular normal legacy industries, all these companies have gone bust, and a whole bunch of Bitcoin companies are going to go bust as well. So I think it just nudges us a little bit closer towards a free and open source society.
Very good. Moving on to the next issue. Did you know the World Crypto Network has its own audio podcast? You can listen to this show and other shows wherever audio podcasts are listened to, even on Apple, iTunes, and more. Check out the World Crypto Network audio podcast today. They have the users. Binance CEO explains why he bought CoinMarketCap. It's a pretty great looking move from the outside. CZ and Binance have bought CoinMarketCap, the #1 source for Bitcoin and altcoin price information. And from now on, there's no doubt that it will recommend you should use Binance. Maybe even you'll have to have your coin on Binance to get listed on CoinMarketCap. Very clever move by CZ. Juan Galt, is it worth $400 million for CoinMarketCap?
Oh my God. I think one of the things that took a big hit in this Corona crisis was the idea that you can spend like millions and millions of dollars to grow a company, kind of like how Amazon grew Amazon.com, right? It might have worked for him and it might have worked at the time, but I think we are in somewhat of a new era. And I don't know about you guys, this is just me, but I haven't looked at CoinMarketCap almost at all in the past few months. I actually kind of feel like I lost faith in CoinMarketCap when I started to see just some of these ridiculous projects having a high ranking, when it was clearly they were doing supply manipulation. There's a lot of volume manipulation, and CoinMarketCap tries to control for that, but they market cap as a metric actually is very shallow and not that useful. And by the time you see it, a coin go up on CoinMarketCap, it's too late. I actually use it as a search engine. I use it to find the websites of the coins. I use it to find the official websites of coins. That's what I use it for the most part. And, to have a quick glance at the price. And for that, they've been a great company. It's basically probably one of the most profitable companies in this industry ever, right? Of all the ICO projects and company and things that they've helped launch, they are probably more profitable than 80% of them. And there's definitely credit there. But my gut feeling here is that they've peaked, and that they're probably not seeing the numbers that they've seen in the past, especially after the altcoin bull market of 2017 and such. So a very interesting move. I don't know if it's I mean, it's a smart move, but I don't know if it's that good. I doubt that they'll make it like you have to be on Binance to get into CoinMarketCap. But Binance is being regularly accused of manipulating the markets and triggering pump and dumps. In fact, when Justin Sun recently acquired Steam, and then the Steam community tried to fork him, and then during the negotiations that followed, Justin Sun, and I can share the link, I've shared it before, actually offered them during a public negotiation, said, listen, don't fork off. We'll figure something out, and we'll get Binance to basically, we'll make it, we'll get a pump going, and then you can cash out, right? And this was in the context of Binance, right? Don't screw the exchanges. We can get a pump going, and then you can cash out at, up, right? So this is, it's, there's a lot of reasons to think that Binance is, manipulating the market, at least to they stimulate pumps. And I would imagine they might try to do something like that with CoinMarketCap. So I don't know. I mean, it's an interesting move, but I'm somewhat skeptical.
Ben from Wales, did Binance get a good deal on CoinMarketCap?
Well, if you're buying any company, if anyone buys any company, then you look at the asset, you look at the way in which it can benefit your company, you look at the assets of that company. So maybe, the amount of hits. I mean, I agree. I mean, I haven't been on CoinMarketCap for quite a while, but maybe just on the amount of hits, and now they can have, they just have dedicated advertising just for themselves on that site, which maybe all those shitcoins are hitting constantly, which is what they want, because then they'll forward them towards Binance. So maybe financially it makes sense. Probably not. What would make more financial sense, as always, is you take 400 million and you use it to fund developers, just developers working on core, developers working on free and open source projects, and then you just grow out the Bitcoin ecosystem. That's a hell of a lot of money, and that could do a lot of good. So no, I'm sure they wouldn't spend that money unless they had to, and I think they probably think that they can recoup it, and they might even be able to do that just on the advertising alone of the amount of hits that website probably gets from shitcoiners, which we're not. So why would we go on CoinMarketCap? We're going for some, just to, for a perverse interest to see how these, during the ICO days, for example, I ran on there a couple of times a day, and it wasn't because I was going to buy any of these things. It's just because I wanted to see how ridiculous the charts were and what the action was on it. But no, it's pretty boring. We only really care about Bitcoin, but for the shitcoiners, maybe that's the site they hit all the time, and it's a good place for Binance to shield themselves. So I don't know.
We've got to go on CoinMarketCap. It's the only place to get information on toilet paper coin. Come on. Shout out to the 62 people that are watching us live. Be sure to give us a thumbs up down below. 14 people have given us thumbs up. That's how YouTube recommends this video to other people. So it's free, and it really helps us get other viewers. Dan, Eve, your thoughts on the sale of CoinMarketCap?
So I actually think, I think for 400 million, if you compare it to, and we talked about this on the Thomas Hunt show the other day, but you compare it to, I think it was Earn.com that sold for 400 million to Coinbase, or around that region. I think that this site is great for information. If you are a shitcoin, it's basically a great place to have your coin listed. It's almost like the index. It's the place to be. You need to be on CoinMarketCap to be recognized. People don't take you seriously there. So it's got, quite a loyal, kind of, what's the word, social agreement almost that between people in these chat rooms that, things that aren't on CoinMarketCap aren't as risky. Sorry, are more risky. Whereas obviously there's all sorts of risky crap on CoinMarketCap, like 99% of it. At the end of the day, it's ranked 555 as of today on Alexa. It was 570 the other day. So I wouldn't be surprised if perhaps the sort of everyone being at home and the coronavirus sort of scare and the Bitcoin price pumping has contributed to that. But ultimately, 555 in the world is pretty good in terms of global rank. And that is a big, powerful card to have in, an already very well-established site. I think you suggested the other day, Tom, have those buy from Binance on everything. The possibilities are pretty endless, and I think that the best thing that the community can do right now is basically come together and build an open source version. that would be pretty awesome.
Exit question. Force prediction. Will Binance lock CoinMarketCap so that you must be listed on Binance to be listed on CoinMarketCap? Juan Galt, yes or no?
I'm gonna go with no on that one.
Ben from Wales.
Gonna go with a no. I think they'd be shooting themselves in the foot, so no.
Dan Eve.
Yeah, I'm a no. I think that the community, he loves the community too, or seems like he loves the community too much. And as someone who is so ingrained in the community, that would be like suicide for them, I think.
The answer is
Metaphorically.
yes, but not right away. $400 million is a lot of $1 million. At some point, they'll realize they spent too much and they have to turn CoinMarketCap into the Binance Club. You must be listed to play ball. Plus, then they can get kickbacks. They can have a casting couch. There's all kinds of options. Moving on to issue 4, interactive video issue. Shout out to our friend James D'Angelo and the Congressional Research Institute, formerly World Bitcoin Network. I used to do the Bitcoin Blackboard series, and now he's back with a great new idea about the coronavirus. Let's listen to just a little bit of James, then we'll explain his idea and discuss it.
Before we get to my plan, none of these ideas suggest a way to move forward. They don't bring back our bars and restaurants, and importantly for my idea, they don't bring back our sports, travel, or entertainment, suggesting that the economic meltdown that we're seeing today, while bad, could get far worse. Because as we know, real economic activity is the only way to boost an economy. Okay, so that's all the details that we needed to review as we're embracing this new normal. So here's my plan. It's based on combining this notion of sequestering as suggested by Dr. David Katz with our love for sports and LeBron James' quest for a title. And so in some ways, this is an open letter to LeBron, the NBA, the NCAA, NHL, NFL, and all the international sports institutions. Here's how to get the games back in 3 to 4 weeks while helping the country and fill the stadiums with cheering fans. And because the idea is so but simple, most of you are going to get this before I even say it. But here we go. Let's look at the details. This is every college campus today. It's empty. This is the empty spring training facility for the Houston Astros and the Washington Nationals. Luxurious, enormous, isolated, and empty. Each university campus, some nice high school campuses, they're like empty, isolated villages. They have empty cafeterias, empty gyms, empty dorms, empty clinics, and importantly, they have empty, beautiful, state-of-the-art arenas. So what do? Well, it's easy. The first thing we do is we take one of these empty universities and make sure it's entirely empty for 4 days. No people at all. And then we do the same thing for a team's airplane or bus. 4 days, nobody touches it. Because remember, that's the equivalent of sterilizing both the campuses and airplanes with the best technology in the world. Because after 4 days on all surfaces, the coronavirus is no longer even a virus. It degrades and it's done. And then during this time, test all players, coaches, and staff before they get on the plane. So do it for those 4 days and then test them after they land. Again, we're not talking about a massive number of tests. This is just the players in the NBA and their staff right now, and they can afford this stuff. Then we quarantine them, or we actually sequester them for 2 to 3 weeks on this isolated, sterile campus, testing every few days. And we say 3 weeks, but 2 weeks is Katz's recommended isolation strategy. So 2 weeks is probably enough. 3 weeks is insurance. And so while under the sequestration quarantine, players and staff can stay in the dorms far from each other. These are massive universities, 50,000 kids, tons of dorms. Each player might even get a floor to themselves. But then after those 3 weeks, all these healthy guys, all the people who passed all the tests, including, of course, LeBron, can start to practice together again. Full contact, no worries. They're living in an escape pod from the coronavirus, a sequestration paradise. And while they're all training, because they're probably all out of shape a bit, we can start doing the same process with thousands of healthy but at-risk elders. those very people who, if they catch the virus, are going to glut up the hospitals. Not the worst ones, right? The people who need care probably this week, but all the people who are doing fine today, let's bring them to this escape pod university campus. And by the time the real games start, they've trained for a few weeks. These liberated at-risk elders, combined with returning professors, students, and even companies that want to jump in, can now all walk around the campus, drinking coffee, attending classes, doing business, and enjoying themselves, just like it was 2019. And they
just like it was 2019. So there's James's idea. As you can see where he's going there, you could even have additional colleges playing other sports. You could have additional colleges playing basketball. Once you had these clean zones set up, you could take the players on a clean airplane from clean zone to clean zone. You could even travel as a person in a clean zone from clean zone to clean zone. Dan, Eve, what do you think about James D'Angelo's impressive plan to save not only the United States, but also sports?
I like it. I think that it's really cool that his dedication to just to sport has made him come up with this idea. This really, he's obviously thought about it a lot. He's quite intricately planned it, and we'll probably see some really other cool ideas coming out of Quarantine Zone from people that are just so sad about missing that thing they were passionate about. So they'll come up with some escape pod type theory as to how we can get around this as a society. It is interesting though that he two things I noticed. One, the quarantine picture, very interesting, bit of the old cat o' nine tails, as it were, but in a playful manner. But more importantly, the fact that he starts off with like, let's shift the NBA players first and make sure they're safe, and then we can check out the at-risk people. So we start with NBA. That way, at least the dying people, they can watch the NBA. So now I like his enthusiasm. It's, I think it's a great idea. I think that there's certain things that the different countries have done that, don't sound so logical when you're looking back retrospectively. Like in the UK's instance, I think that rather than just shutting off all borders, they should find the areas where it's clearly prevalent and immediately shut those down, so that all the people, say from London, don't spread out and go to second homes after. There's loads of other kind of small things that we could have done without going crazy. But it's good to see people coming up with ideas and ways of getting society back to normal.
Juan S. Galt. Still muted.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting idea, and I agree with Crypto Raptor. Like it's really it's a very good sign of creativity. And I'm actually, he's very enthusiastic, and I'm looking forward to other ideas that people might come up with going forward about how to kind of rebuild society in a sense, because a great deal of businesses got devastated in this crash, and I think we're going to see more of that. This supply shock has not hit yet, I think. But we're past the panic era. We're past the panic. Peak panic is behind us. If you look at Google Analytics and trends and search and interest for coronavirus, we've peaked. At least it's over right now. So we're in an interesting time. I think, I have some doubts about, like, it seems like it's a lot of, like, this would be like, it wouldn't be like going to watch a basketball game. It would be like going on a 2-week retreat to be able to watch basketball. Maybe that can make sense for some people. Maybe it's the new way of doing things for a while. I don't know. It seems a little bit complicated. Like 2-week quarantine to watch basketball seems a little bit extreme. But I really like the 4-day kind of cleaning idea for these real estate properties, right? So the other thing that I would say is, actually, no, that's all I got. Yeah.
All right, I got a little more. The Overton window has obviously shifted. And if you're questioning this idea, or maybe just minimizing it because it's only about sports, you're not seeing the entire picture. If you really want to know the future, look at the reports coming out of China. The reports are very clear. The green light rules your future. Your ability to prove that you are clean is what gives you access to different parts of China. If you think the rest of the world's not going to be like that, if you think they're just going to let anybody into movie theaters, concert halls, NBA games, even college basketball games, college dorms, college campuses. We're going to see a whole new level of biological control because no one wants to get this virus. So I do think that an idea like this, an escape pod sequestered off, could be a quick way to get revenue going. Just to update Juan, I think you actually have to live there to see the basketball games. So it's more like moving to college. It's more like you're an old person going back to college again. Suddenly you can walk around the dorms, you can play board games, you can go get coffee, you can go to a restaurant, all within this nice, clean, safe college.
Well, let me just say that I do think that there's been a lot more fear than there is evidence that this thing is as deadly as I think we used to be. We used to think, yeah, okay, it's killing people, but there's been some reports on misreported deaths. People will die of, they were already almost about to die, and then the corona thing hit and it just pushed them over the edge. Is that corona? Is that not corona? There's I think as more information comes to light about this pandemic, we will sort of find the actual reality of the situation. And I don't think it's as bad as it could have been, but it was clearly bad enough and society was fragile enough. So hey, I'm sure people will figure it out. People are very smart and creative, and I just definitely hope we don't end up like communist China. Whatever we do, let's not do what they're doing. Not quite exactly like that. Let's find a different way to do it.
Well, don't worry. If this virus didn't impress you, just wait for the next virus. The atom bomb was nothing compared to the hydrogen bomb. Ben from Wales, can I get you a seat on the new college campus for sports?
Yeah, the funny thing about tyrannical systems is they can sneak up on you. So, if you think that you don't want to live under a tyranny like in China, then opting into this system is also opting into a tyranny who decides who gets to come to the campus and gets to leave the campus, who's in control. Would it not be better to get all the academics who can actually do work on combating this virus and put them somewhere safe so they can continue their work? My dog's speaking. So yeah, no, I'm not a fan of the idea. I mean, it's gimmicky and it's kind of fun, and maybe the NBA have a lot of money, so they can give some money. They can buy off some universities, but I don't think academics would go for it, and I think they probably protest against the idea of making what are just little Chinas basically. And the reason containment was successful in China is the exact same reason it would be successful in the proposal is testing, just lots and lots of testing and lots of control. So in China, when you left your apartment block, you had your temperature test. And then when you went to the supermarket, before you walked in, they checked your temperature. If you had a temperature, you would go to a testing facility. And then when you went to the testing facility, you would have a coronavirus test there and then. It'd take about half an hour. You'd have a CT scan in that, which would take a couple of minutes, a stand-up CT scan. You would have, they stick a thing up your nose so they can test to see whether you've got the virus. You would sit there and you would wait until you had the all clear. When you had the all clear, you could then leave that facility and you could go home. If you didn't have the all clear, they would then take you to a monitoring station area, which we all saw pictures of. There were those big gymnasiums where they had all the beds laid out. And there you had the virus, but everyone there had the virus, they all had coronavirus, and you were just monitored to see how your condition was. And if it went bad, then you would be taken to hospital and you would be treated in hospital. And they had a whole bunch of sort of innovative ways of trying to see whether people were getting more and more sick. They do they do dancing. We saw this, people with masks and whatever were dancing about. And that was so the people who were monitoring the sick were able to see that, okay, these old people over here, they're not standing up and they're not joining in with this dancing. So they're probably feeling a bit worse for wear. We can kind of keep an eye on them, and maybe they're the people who have to go off to hospital and have treatment and have to have a ventilator. So that amount of control, which has worked in Wuhan for containment. I don't know where this idea is that people, I understand that all the data released by governments is corrupt and isn't perfect, and the numbers are fiddled, for example. But the Chinese, after the initial denial period, were very open with their facts and figures. They built 2 massive hospitals. They scared people like me, who actually looked at the data, and I looked at the amount of people who were getting sick. I looked at this country which were building hospitals to be able to cater for all the people who are going to get sick. And I realized that this was going to be quite a bad pandemic. There's a reason 2 billion people are in quarantine, and that's because it is a bad pandemic and it could cause a lot of death and a lot of suffering across the planet. I hope. In Germany, there's a town in Germany, which is, I think it's one of the worst hit towns, and they're doing a blanket test of everybody in the town. So they'll be able to figure out how many people were asymptomatic, because we still have not got data for that, no matter what people say. And then once they know that, they'll know roughly a percentage. So maybe it's 25%, maybe it's 40% of the population are asymptomatic and they have coronavirus, they don't display any symptoms. And then maybe those mortality figures are much smaller than we thought they were. Let's hope that happens, but it could not happen. Also, we could have multiple waves of this virus. So yes, we have to get used to living with this virus, but I don't think that taking largely publicly funded institutions, academic institutions, which are specifically designed for very bright people who are able to get into that institution to be able to sit down, try and work out and solve problems like this. Now, I understand there may be a lot of resentment for universities, but look at your iPhone. Everything inside your iPhone was developed, all the technology was developed by universities. It was given to the free market, and the free market sector, they utilitized it into a mobile phone. Look at the internet, that came from university. So university is a very important place for research, for academic study, and for trying to work out how we can come up with a vaccine and then solve this very hard problem. I don't think making tiny little tyrannies, tiny little Chinese tyrannies, and then string them together with airplanes makes any sense. I also don't think it's possible. I think the containment issues of trying to not have these university campuses be infected, and then because everyone's in close proximity to all them become infected. I don't think it's logical. I don't think it's ethical, and I don't think it's not going to happen. So it's pointless even thinking about it. And I think that you're just letting tyranny in through the back door and calling it something else. I don't know what you want to call it. MBA, free market capitalism. But
it's almost as if the only techniques that work against fighting this virus are totalitarian. Something about this virus, and the only.
Well, I mean, it's like anything, though, isn't it? It's like you can solve problems by pointing guns at people, by beating them, by locking them all up in the house. You want to get rid of crime rates, lock them all up in the houses. Like containment works. Yes, it's not a feasible long-term solution. Maybe it is, but maybe, I mean, I've noticed that, yes, people have been told to stay indoors and told to stay at home, but a lot of people just want to stay at home and they want to stay indoors. They don't want to get infected. They don't want to infect the people around them. They understand that the infection rate is very high, that your ability to be able to infect people.
But the economy, we need them to go out and spend. They need to spend.
Oh, no, it's very true. And I actually believe that, like, the economic repercussions of this are going to be ginormous. I think we're going to have issues with food production. Like, during wars, we had to have rationing. But we were still able to produce food, because we weren't scared of viruses. Like the rural communities were relatively safe places. They weren't being bombed like the cities, so we're still able to produce food. Whereas with this virus, like I know a bunch of food producers who aren't producing food right now. So one thing I will say to everyone out there, if you're listening, plant some veggies. Now's a good time to get some veggies down spring. If you've got a little bit of grass, you've got a little lawn or whatever, plant some veggies, because you will have rationing, we will have food shortages. And we're used to seeing all these happy endings, and we're used to like watching pandemic films where suddenly they come up with a cure and it's not so bad and there's light at the end of the tunnel, but there could not be, this could really have a marked effect on our entire species. So let's hope not. And let's hope, and all look out for that study coming from Germany to find out what the asymptomatic percentage of the population is, because that's a very important study.
There's a great quote that I saw on the internet is the real virus is communism. Corona is just how it spreads.
That's true. Well, I mean, I would argue that that's not actually communism.
It's not real communism.
The exit question.
It's never been done right.
Will we see televised sports with fans?
It's like saying true free market capitalism exists is bollocks.
Terrible. Communism is dead. We'll talk about it some other time.
Communism's not the same as socialism. Find your time.
I just want to add a mini. Oh, wait.
Go ahead.
Sorry, you ask me a question and then I'll fit my little bit in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Will we see televised sports with fans like 2019 before the end of the year?
No, but no, I think we will. But the other thing is that, so going back about the possible severity of this, one thing I will add is that I do think that in an age where we're seeing a lot more people with general problems, anxiety, for example, which I've got myself, it's easier to get swept away with news articles, especially when it's being pummeled at you continuously. So I do think that there is possibly an element of, I'm the optimist, but this is actually slightly more to do with the nocebo effect and a group panic over, enveloping people a bit. A lot of people already, are worried about work and stuff like that. You've got someone who can't breathe properly, who's already got existing problems. And then, you add that with losing their job and all the other complications. I think that it's more of a whirlwind thing. And I think that, if you think about the fact that it hit 200 countries in like no time, like a month and a half, or smaller, a couple of months. End of January, it was I'm pretty sure it was in like 197 by end of January. But anyway, still a lot, even if it was 150, and I might be wrong, so please don't take me on that. The fact is, it spread to 100x countries, a load of countries. And if it really spreads that fast and that prevalent and stays everywhere for every time, and everyone's so easily getting it, then I can't see how like more than 50% of the world haven't kind of come into contact with it. It seems like if there's so many people, we've got 1 million confirmed, how come surely it should be way further than that now if it spreads so easily. So I'm an optimist, and I do think we will actually see sports by the end of the year. But not surfing. Very quickly, someone got shot for surfing today. I saw. Beg your pardon.
Shot. They got shot.
So yeah,
Where?
I was gonna. So there's two things I was gonna.
Sorry. Not tight.
The US, I think. Oh no,
it
was in what's it called? What's one of the place where it's the Puerto Rico.
Thailand.
Puerto Rico, I think. So one of them was someone who was like on a paddleboard in the middle of the ocean, and the police were like with loads of boats around. They're like, "Hey, you can't do that!" And he's like, "What the fuck?" It's like there's no one around, and they all swarmed in. And then the other one was like, I think they, apparently shots fired at a surfer running away. So I saw the video, pretty crazy. I'm over.
All right, Juan Galt, sports by the end of the year.
Yeah, I think we'll probably get back into it at the end of this year. Worst case scenario next year, but I think by the end of the year things will have to some degree started moving again. I guess we'll see how bad the crisis is. That I just saw a tweet that kind of blew my mind. I mean, it really put it all together. It says, so as best as I can tell this morning, we now have ... a pandemic crisis, a supply chain crisis, a demand crisis, a labor market crisis, an equity market crisis, an oil price crisis, a brewing bond market crisis, a developing currency crisis, and a potential housing market crisis. And it's already been a market crisis, a housing market crisis, and that will continue. So anyway, I think, we're still, the economic shock has to happen, but I think by the end of the year, hopefully we'll be, over the most of the pain, and we'll have better numbers on how many people are asymptomatic. If this thing is as parabolic as it seems to be, and it spreads as fast as it seems to be, then chances are we've all already had it, and maybe, I don't know, maybe we have, right? I don't know. If a lot of people are asymptomatic, then maybe it's not as deadly as it seems, and people can chill out a little bit, but maybe not. We'll see what happens.
Ben from Wales.
What was the exit question?
Sports by next year.
Oh, right. No, I don't think. I think we have to. I hope I'm wrong. As I said, when I was one of the first people, one of the first people openly in Bitcoin to be really getting worried about the coronavirus, and I moved my whole family up to some little island in Scotland. Then, very ironically, got coronavirus, I think. No, and it's not just me panicking. It's just me looking at those numbers, me looking at what's happened in some of the other countries where they haven't contained it. I think, and the ability for it to have multiple waves, to mutate and to do a whole bunch of things which it could very feasibly do, which we don't know. And I'm not just betting FUD. I think it's far. I don't know. I worry about some people who put out these denialist tweets, and then you'll have like hundreds and hundreds of likes. And then I worry that those people are then going to put themselves at risk without looking at data. So I hope the data which comes back from the study on this town in Germany is positive, and I hope more people have been asymptomatic. We also don't know how long our immunity to it will last. So when you get a cold, you then, a little bit later on, you get maybe a slightly changed version of the cold virus, but also the reason in which you contract it again and it feels just as bad is because your immunity, it doesn't stay. You lose the antibodies to be able to fight the virus. So that will happen with corona also. So we may have waves of it, coming. Hopefully it'll just be like a little cold or something, but we don't know. We just don't know. Yeah, data. Make sure you keep an eye on the data. But when it comes to sports and watching sports by the end of the edit, I think it's a particularly bad thing that people aren't watching spectator sports. Because they might think about other things which are more important. But I don't think we're going anywhere. I think we need to get used to the fact that we live in our own little family pods at the moment, and just look after the people around you and just prepare for the worst and then hope for the best.
Ben's right. No sports till the vaccine. No sports till the vaccine, at least a year and a half. Now is the time to start wondering about the food supply. If we stay inside for a year and a half, who's going to feed us?
Sorry, I would like to say as well, although spectator sports are now out the window, Bitcoin conferences have been very quick to adapt. And this weekend, we've got the Lightning Hack Day, which was supposed to be happening in Barcelona. I was really looking forward to going to Barcelona and taking the family on a bit of a holiday. But now we're going to be doing it on the just over the internet. There's a Mattermost. If you go on the Fullmost Twitter and go on there, you can check that out and you can join that. So sports aren't able to do that. So maybe all these people who watch sports will start doing online Bitcoin conferences.
I'm sure they'll just switch right over. Dan, Eve, are you ready with a prediction or a story of the week?
I am going to go with the prediction. Okay. Ever the optimist, as I just waffled on about, my optimistic, hopefully more people have had it. And very quickly, I think just go back. So the Princess Cruise, great example. I think you've got 700 something people that got it. There were 10, I think it was 10 deaths. That's a mortality rate of 1.4%, and that's in a high risk. The generally older people, high risk. Also, we don't have an antibody test, so we don't know how many of the other people outside of the 700 actually got it. So we could have, they're so tightly knitted, sharing food or whatever. It could have had all 3,000 that actually had it, and only 700 of them showed symptoms that actually went wrong, and 10 deaths. So there's all sorts of things. I'm an optimistic. So there's going to be a big news piece that's verified coming out, and they're going to be like, well, it was bad and it is bad, but it's not as bad as we thought.
All right, hooray for optimism. Juan Galt, prediction or story of the week?
Well, my prediction is that as long as the internet works, people will figure something out. If the internet fails, burn it all to hell.
That's all we have left. If the internet fails, it's all gone. Ben from Wales, prediction or story of the week?
Yeah, I'm a goofball because I had am I muted? No, I'm not. I had this already, but then my internet went down. My laptop died because it's shitty Linux, so it has to die periodically. So I'm having to open up everything again. So my story of the week is the fact that this weekend is going to be the Lightning Hack Day. Well, so it's not really a hack day; it's a hack couple of days, Saturday and Sunday. There's a Mattermost thing group you can join. It's free to join, whatever. That's organised by Fulmo, who's the guy who organised the group who organised the Lightning Hack Days in Germany, New York, and the Lightning Conference in Berlin last year. It was a great conference. So everybody get on that this weekend and see if you can contribute, see if you can come up with any good ideas. We've been working on a big update for LM Bits, which isn't ready. So I'm probably gonna have to work into the wee hours doing that. But so hopefully tomorrow it will be ready. There's going to be 5 bounties available so LM Bits. I don't know if you're aware of it. See if I can get it up and running and then share my screen. LM Bits is an Insta wallet, and I kind of came up with the idea from the little gizmos and stuff I make. I wanted an easy way to, and like an easy API to be able to plug into and connect my gizmos to but I also wanted this thing to be able to connect to like multiple funding sources. So like, you know, a C Lightning node or an LND node or Open Node or LMPay or whatever else, and just fund it with whatever Lightning source I wanted to fund it with. And then if one of those Lightning sources are down, you can just switch to another Lightning source. And it doesn't affect your downtime too much. Anyway, so we got a big update, which we're working on this evening, and it should look a lot better, and it should be, the code's a lot cleaner. But the idea is as well that you can build extensions. So if you want to make a faucet, for example, there's an extension to be able to make a faucet. If you want to make have an instant like point of sale terminal on your phone, you can do that. If you want to organize a Bitcoin meetup event or tutorial, you can issue tickets, and then people can pay tickets, get a code, and then use that code. You can use the same system to then like register those tickets at the door. It's pretty cool. I spent ages making that, but it's probably completely redundant now. So I'm going to try and show you how it looks now, and then hope that I'm not like doxing myself. So I'm sorry. Ooh, here we are. Right. What am I doing? Where am I? Share screen. How do I do that? Blur, share. There we are. I just like share. Oh yeah, I see. Share screen. Oh, cool. Right. Okay. Yeah. So this is LNbits now. So it has like API info on the. So basically, like you can easily make like a wallet on LNbits. Like, so I've made a wallet here, the Bitcoin Group one, but I can make another one. Just call it whatever, and then like boom, you've got another wallet. Okay. And like this wallet has a unique API keys and the ability to be able to like connect things to it. And this wallet has a unique, API keys, for example. You can like, send and receive Bitcoin as you could, any other sort of Bitcoin Lightning wallet. You can use your, what if I can do this? If I can send, I suppose my camera is probably being used, but you can use your camera. This is also mobile ready. So if you run this thing on your phone, it looks amazing. This isn't public at the moment. There's the old version of LNbits, which is on LNbits.com, which you can take a look at. But this is the newer version, which is all swanky looking and looks a bit nicer. So when the extensions down here, you can click on extensions, and then you have a whole bunch of extensions. You can enable these extensions. I'm not going to show you this one because it's absolutely disgusting at the moment because I haven't cleaned up the code. But when we have, then there's the point of sale one, there's your faucet maker, and there's like the events thing. So the idea is that because it's a free and open source project, if you make an extension for it, which should be relatively easy, maybe just take a day or so, there's 5 bounties for 0.03 BTC. So not a small amount of money. So there's 5 bounties available, 0.03. So everybody get on Mattermost tomorrow. There's a specific sprint for LNbits, and then we'll all be chatting on there. Hopefully this will be finished. And then, we're looking forward to seeing what people come up with. I think the idea is that people will we'll pick I don't even know whether there'll be 5 ideas, but if there'll be a couple of good ideas, which everyone agrees on is a good idea, and then that will be the idea if it's made, which gets the bounty released. So, you could work in groups, you could work on your own, whatever. There's a whole bunch of other sprints on the, not sprints, I know what you call them, groups on the Mattermost for the hack day. So if you're interested in working on Blitz stuff, you can work on Blitz stuff. If you're interested in working on, I don't know, there's a whole bunch of projects on there you can check out. I think there's actually a quickening project as well for my little point of sale thing. So a group there, so you can go on there and chat on there if you want. So yeah, really excited about that. Really excited to see what extensions come out. The idea of LNbits was it's to kind of, like that WordPress experience, like you have a very sort of, it fulfills small functionality, and then you can like enable a whole bunch of plugins, and then you have a whole bunch of more functionality without all just being packed in at the beginning. That's kind of how LNbits is kind of going. So really excited to see how that pans out, and then see what people make. So that's my story of the week. Check out the Lightning Hack Day tomorrow and Sunday, Lightning Hack weekend. Do I need to not share? I think I do. How do I do that? Oh, this is where I dox myself. Is it possible? Oh, wait, there's a thing up here.
Stop sharing. I don't know. There you go. All right, we're back. All right, thanks so much, Ben. And check out Lightning Hack Day tomorrow. They're going to do it online. Also, tomorrow we're going to do another live episode of the Thomas Hunt Show. Saturday, so it must be International Book Saturday. So that'll be fun. We'll show some international books that I got in my travels. Later on in the day, although it might be earlier, and I'm pretty sure everything's happening at the same time, check out the Tatiana show. She's doing a live stream on Facebook. We're going to have some tweets about that on Twitter at Mad Bitcoin. So just follow Mad Bitcoins for updates on that. I wanted to go ahead and show the QR code. If you'd like to donate right here, we've been doing live shows all week on the World Crypto Network. You can check that out down below. We do about 2 hours a day, 9 o'clock in the morning to 11 a.m. Pacific time. Been taking phone calls, talking about the coronavirus. We predicted 2 to 3 weeks ago that you should wear a mask. So you are getting better information here than you might get other places. And you can call in. And Dan was there as my co-host. Today we talked about our legendary trip to Malta to deliver a satellite dish for Adam Back and Blockstream. So it's very cool. You can check out that story as well as the pictures from CoinFest and from Malta. Shout out to CoinFest. We should all be at CoinFest right now in the UK, but we aren't traveling anywhere. We're all staying home. So shout out to Adam and all the other organizers of conferences who aren't doing much right now. We're not doing what we thought we'd be doing. So thanks so much to everybody joining us in the chat. Thanks for giving us a thumbs up and a share. If it's your first time here, please subscribe down below, hit the bell for notifications. We've got a lot of great videos and stuff coming out this week. More videos from the Lightning Conference, more videos from HCPP. Just check those out. Every other day or so, there's new of those. And until next time, bye-bye.
Yay.
Still live.